Hey guys, welcome to the September and October reading wrap-up. Last night I posted a poll on my community page to see if you guys wanted me to film this one like I'd been filming them, which is essentially taking you guys along with me as I prep for a wrap-up and then I sit down and talk about the books that I read, or if you guys wanted me to just exclude that part and jump right into sit down, here's the books that I read this month. I am so glad that you guys voted on the prep and wrap-up, so today we're going to go through and make sure everything is up to date for September and October, so it should take a little bit longer, but I need to update Goodreads, update Notion, and update my reading journal. So I'm gonna pack my bag and then we're gonna head to a coffee shop and get started. Okay, I'm outside, so sorry if you hear all of the loud cars and stuff driving by, but I am officially at the coffee shop. I have my matcha, I have my croissant, my computer is set up. I always want to chug these. Like, the coffee bean and tea leaf matchas are just so smooth that I just want to like chug it. Anyways, I think the first task that I want to do is update Notion because I think that's going to be the most tedious. It's a lot of like adding new pages, typing out the title, the author, the rating, all of that. And then we'll tackle the Goodreads side because the Goodreads, I already wrote up all my reviews and my notes. I just need to like copy them over. So I would rather start with like the hardest thing and get it over with. So let's tackle my Notion. Okay, what I love about Past Me is I already took screenshots of when I read the books, so now that I'm having to basically re-enter that information from Goodreads over to Notion, I at least already have the screenshots, so it won't be like a bunch of back and forth of things. I just went through and I added all the titles of the books. Now I have to do all the fancy schmancy stuff of adding in like the covers, the authors, and the rating. Oh, and when I finished it. Yeah. Okay, I'll see you on the other side. Okay, I just finished updating all of the Notion side of things. I'm so sorry with the cars in the background. There's only so much I can do, but I updated that, so it's September and October that I did, and I just looked and I still have to do August. I don't know if you guys remember that wrap-up video, but I was like, I have no time to film this, so we cannot do the whole thing because I can't update everything else right now, but here's at least a sit-down video. So I still need to go in and update the August month for Notion, which I'm debating on doing that right now just because I'm in the flow of it. But I don't know if I got in the flow of it because of all the prep work I did literally last night of taking all the screenshots and doing all the things. So I don't know about that yet. But I will say I feel really good about having September and October updated. I will show you what it looks like when we get home, and I can show you without any like glares on the screen. But for now, I'm going to either jump into doing August and just catching up fully. I just don't think I'm in the mood to do that as I talk about it. I think I'm really just going to shift and update Goodreads right now. So I told you guys I did all the reviews on my phone last night. Like, I just like typed them up in my notes app, but now I need to go through and individually like share them on Goodreads. So I think that's what we're gonna do right now. I was able to copy over my notes onto my computer, just like airdrop them, and so now I have like the text file and Goodreads side by side. I'm just gonna do a lot of copy and pasting. Just finished all of the Goodreads side. It was so quick because I had already written up the reviews, so there's a lot of just copy paste, but I feel so good. Like, it's not something that's really been bothering me, but it's something that now that I've caught up, I want to maintain a bit better. So we'll see, but I don't like that I always wait until the end of the month to do reviews. I like waiting a day or two after I finish. Like, I don't mind saying, okay, I finished the book, and then posting a review like the next day or 2 days later. But doing it like at the end of the month can be really tricky when sometimes those more detailed thoughts that I could share aren't as like there, and I have to like remember all of it. So I think I want to do better about that, and I want to be better about updating Notion throughout the month as well. So fingers crossed that when we get the November reading wrap up, we're not in the same position. I feel really good. I think I want to head home and do the reading journal side now. Okay, I just started this clip and I just heard like the most wholesome thing. I have my like sliding door open right now because it's just so beautiful outside, and someone was just like walking by outside and she's clearly just like on the phone talking to one of her girlfriends. I have no idea, but she was just like, you know, like I just need someone that can look outside of themselves so that they can also like take care of me when I'm not at my best or doing my best. Like, it was just such like a cute little thought. I was like, girl, I hope you find that. Like, me too. Okay, anyways, we're back home and I just got out my bullet journal. I'm pulling up my ratings. Oh, now I can just go to Goodreads because I need the author as well. My books, 2024 reading challenge. Come on. Okay, so my reading journal for October is so pretty. Oh, come on. I loved how this turned out. I think I did a Patreon video doing this with you guys. Yes. Like, I was just trying to make sure like it wasn't posted on here. I'm pretty sure it was a Patreon like exclusive video, but it turned out so gorgeous. Better than I could have dreamed of, because I went into this just like blind and like I don't know what I want to do, and like to have it turn out like this, like I am not someone that usually does that. When I create my bullet journals, it's always taking a bunch of different inspo and like mashing it together from like Pinterest or something. But this, I had like a sticker pack from Archer and Olive that was like fall themed with the cute little pumpkin stuff and everything, and those colors is just like what I used then to create everything else. So I just love how this turned out. But okay, this should be pretty straightforward. Say that about everything, but it should be because I did all the prep work. Now I just have to write everything in, and I think I did that for September already. Yes, so I only have to do October. Okay guys, we can do this. Well, by we can do this, I mean the first title had some hiccups. You guys, I'm genuinely so dumb. Genuinely so dumb. It's okay. I mean, it's not, but it is. Okay. It's okay. We can fix this. Let's finally talk about the books that I read in September and October. Okay, now for the hardest part of this video, talking about the books that I read so that you understand if you would want to read it or not, you understand my thoughts and feelings about it without rambling for 10 minutes or talking about any spoilers. So I'm going to do my best. I'm going to try to just give you guys the ratings, let you know how I felt about the book, and if I mention anything specific about it, it's only going to be what's revealed to us on the back of the book, so no spoilers. I'm going to generally talk about them in the order that I read them, but I'm going to talk about all of the Throne of Glass books first. That way I can kind of just like get them out of the way, and then we're going to go through the rest of the books in the order that I read them. So as you guys know, I've started my Throne of Glass journey. I'm buddy reading this with my friend Riley. The part 1 of the reading vlog will be out as soon as I finish editing it. It's quite the long video, but in it, I read The Assassin's Blade, Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, and Heir of Fire. So I'm not going to talk too much about it because obviously I don't want to be repetitive, but we started off with The Assassin's Blade. I gave this 4.25. Now, to summarize it as best as I can, Riley and I chose to read this book first, And then we found a reading guide to where you read certain novellas at certain points in the series. So you can see where I've reread certain novellas now, and I'm tabbing when I reread them. So I've already reread 2 of the novellas, and I am on to a 3rd, and I'm slowly tabbing that one. So I really love this. I loved reading it first because for me, I got to see why our main character, Selena, is the amazing assassin that she is claimed to be immediately into Throne of Glass, the first book. So having this mini series of novellas was also really great because I felt like I could jump into this very intimidating, widely loved series by just like dipping my toes in the water and not just like head first, Throne of Glass, here we go. So I think that made this experience really great. I've loved rereading them. Essentially, Riley and I like read the entirety of Assassin's Blade, then found that reading guide, and we're like, let's now follow that. Let's do rereads of the novellas. And that first reread, it hit so hard. So that's my controversial thought of the video, is just, that is the reading order that we have. And usually you just see someone, you know, read it first, read it third, read it fourth. Here, Riley and I are read it first, but now we're rereading different novellas at different points. So this has been amazing. I think that just sums up, I guess, the best I can about this series also so far with the experience of starting it. So then I read, obviously, Throne of Glass. I'm like making sure I say the right rating. I gave this one 4.5 stars. This was such a fun intro to just the rest of the world because in the Assassin's Blade, it's just a series of novellas of kind of Selena's history. Like you get 5 missions that she went on and you kind of get a little bit of her backstory here before heading into Throne of Glass. And here we get to see a lot more characters that are going to be a part of the rest of the series. And so that was so fun to kind of just get our feet wet. Now we're like, you know, knees deep in the water, and it was just like a nice story to be a part of. Like I felt like it was pretty easy to understand and like just kind of get comfortable in the world. The plot was interesting for me. I felt like I was pretty into it the entire time. Then we read Crown of Midnight. Oh my gosh, I gave this 4.75 stars. I mean, the tabs are gorgeous. Like the tabs are tabbing. I love this book. I loved it. It was so good. We got a lot more depth with our characters, you know, from book 1 to book 2. There's going to be so much more that we learn about them, but I just felt like the transition from Throne of Glass to Crown of Midnight was so well done, and I just really loved getting more. I just loved getting more. I loved how the plot progressed here because like by the end of this, I was just like jaw on the floor. I mean, I felt all the emotions throughout this entire book. And Throne of Glass, honestly, I think any book that I've read in this series, I have screamed, like in a good way, I've yelled in a bad way, I've cried, I've laughed, I've giggled, like it just has it all in like every chapter. So I really enjoyed this one. This ending, oh my gosh, had me terrified to pick up Air Fire, which I believe I gave 4.5 stars. Let me just confirm. Yeah, 4.5 stars. So the only reason I feel like Crown of Midnight had 4.75 and then this like dropped to 4.5, it was just a lot to follow. I think a reread of this would bump up the rating because then, you know, like I just have a better understanding of everything going on. But in this one, we are introduced to more characters. You're following multiple POVs, multiple plot lines going on, and it just made it harder to simply pick up the book if I wanted to pick it up. Like you couldn't just be like, oh, let me read a chapter tonight, because you're following multiple POVs, multiple plot lines. Like you kind of got to get through a few chapters in order to feel like you actually made progress in the book. So that's what made this one a bit more challenging, but I really liked it. Like I really loved the new characters that we were introduced to. Again, the plot line, or say plot line, as in just like the progression of this world and everything going on was so good. I felt like I was connecting a lot more to the characters and like feeling a lot more to the individual characters and everything they were going through, and like I went through it with them. Once again, screamed, cried, laughed, giggled, all the things. This was so good. It was just a lot. It was a lot. And I could see a reread of any of these books like increasing the rating, because obviously you just at that point know what's going on, and now you're just like experiencing this book for everything it is, but as like a first time around, 4.5. Okay, now let's talk about the rest of the books in the order that I read them. I do have most of them physically here, but there were a couple that I just checked out from the library or an audiobook only, so when we get to those, I will just put a cover of them up on the screen. First up is Foxglove by Adeline Grace. I gave this book 5 stars. I absolutely love this trilogy. I read Belladonna, I think towards the end of August, and then this is one of the first books that I picked up in September. I cannot wait to finish it with Wisteria. Like, this trilogy is just absolute perfection. The audiobook continues to be unmatched, absolutely unmatched. And the plot line, like from book 1 to book 2, it just makes sense. And then the way that this ends, I cannot wait for Wisteria. I feel like it's just going to be the perfect ending to this trilogy, and that this trilogy is going to be one of those books that you can just reread over and over and over again. Oh my god, I'm just already excited to reread next year. Like, it's so perfect. It's this historical fiction meets mystery meets romance. In the first book, we are following our main character as she is kind of solving this mystery, but then you have this other character, Death, that has just always been around her since she was little. And Death is like this person that she can talk to. And when I tell you guys that Death's voice in these audiobooks, chills. I get chills. If you've listened to it, you know. If you haven't, 1, you absolutely need that medium for this trilogy, but 2, you will soon find out. Oh my gosh. And on the front of this, it says, "Death is her destiny, fate has other plans." So in book 2, we are introduced to fate. You guys, it's just so good. Next up is Two Twisted Crowns by Rachel Gillig. I gave this book 4.25 stars. I think I read One Dark Window also in August, and then I had to, no joke, look up the ending before jumping into this, because I read the first couple chapters probably only like a week or 2 apart after like finishing it, but I was like, what is going on? Like, it was wild. I was just like, what is this book? So I had to look up the ending of One Dark Window. Once I did that, so much better. I mean, 4.25 stars. This duology was just so fun, and I love a good duology or trilogy, but duologies just hit different because they're just not intimidating. You get more of a story versus like just a standalone, but it's not like too much, and I feel like it's just attainable. Such a unique magic system. I feel like this, it's not hard to follow once you kind of just grasp what's going on, but it was just such a unique system. It's kind of like Yu-Gi-Oh cards or like Pokemon cards, because you have these Providence cards that have powers, but just anyone who has that card can wield that power. And so it's not like what we're used to seeing, which is just someone is born with power or they aren't, you know what I mean? And so I think that's what makes this world so unique, and they're kind of going on this quest throughout books 1 and 2, and I just loved how this author just made books 1 and 2 so different but go together perfectly. Like, wow, this storyline was absolutely magical. This is another one that I felt like you could just reread year after year and like have all the same feelings, catch more, have those feelings develop. Like, oh, absolutely magical. Okay, the first one that I do not have the physical copy of, Daughter of the Siren Queen, which I gave 4 stars. This is the second book to, what is the trilogy called? I don't know. The first book is Daughter of the Pirate King. So then the second book to it is Daughter of the Siren Queen. And it was just fun. I feel like this duology is perfect for people that are wanting to get into fantasy but do not want it to be complicated, but then also want a bit more than just like a single book standalone. You know what I mean? So I feel like this duology was fun. I mean, it's a retake or retelling of The Little Mermaid-ish, within reason. So it was just so fun to read. I feel like I picked up Daughter of the Pirate King because of Allie. She chose that book for me to read in our video, and I wouldn't have picked it up without her. Well, I was going to pick it up eventually, but definitely not when I did without her doing that. And I'm so glad that she got me to read it, because then I seeked out Daughter of the Siren Queen through my library. It was just so fun. That's the best way I can describe it. I feel like you either like it or you don't. Next up is Leather and Lark by Brynn Weaver. This is the Ruinous Love Trilogy. So I read Butcher and Blackbird as my book club pick for July. August? September? Like, I have no idea. Relatively recently. And then this is the second book. The third book I think comes out next year. This was just so fun. Like, I really liked Butcher and Blackbird. Wait, did I say I gave it 4 stars? I feel like I did. It's repetitive if I didn't. That's okay. But this was fun. I think I gave the first book 4.5 or 4.25. So I like this one just a little less. The romance was different. It was interesting. It was entertaining. As a true crime loving girly, this world is just fun. I mean, book 1 of Butcher and Blackbird is 2 serial killers falling in love. This one, literally, what was this? I mean, it's following the best friend of our main female character of book 1, and then the brother of our main male character from book 1. So I don't know how much more I want to say. I mean, if you liked Butcher and Blackbird and you want to continue it, you're gonna have a good time in this. I just had like a tiny bit less fun with the romance. But other than that, still a fun storyline. Okay, then we have our next one that I don't have a physical copy of. I read The UNM Mothers. I gave this book 3 stars. This was wild. I read this or listened to this from Libro FM's ALC program, so it's not something I would have seeked out, but I saw it, I got it, and I was like, okay. I listened to this while working, and it was just one of those books that I was just like, what am I reading? Like, I don't think I should tell you anything about this. This is either a book that you would seek out or it isn't. It's one of those books that I recommend to people that, in the end, they just want to have that feeling of, what did I just read? What? Like, you have plenty of those moments throughout listening to it. It was just fine. Like, 3 stars, because, like, it was mid, but, like, I'm still thinking about it, because I'm still like, what was that? That's kind of all I want to say. Things are making more sense now because I must have read Butcher and Blackbird in August, because my September book club pick was A Dawn of Onyx by Kate Golden. This is the Sacred Stones trilogy. I believe it's a trilogy. This, fun. What did I give it? 4.25? Yes, 4.25. So I will say, it took me a little bit to get into. I think it was around the 80 to 100 page mark, which this isn't a huge book, but we got this like reveal like around 80 to 100 pages that then like had me sat. Like something about that, I was just kind of vibing up until that point. I didn't like dislike what I was reading, but it's not like I was hooked, like so excited to pick it up. But once I hit that 100 page mark, I just wanted to binge it. This was so fun. This was so fun. I'm trying to see like, what about it? Captured by the King of Darkness, she was forced to find the light within. There you go. There you go. I mean, I'm excited to continue this. I think I'm going to read the second book, hopefully also in November, but this is something that I wanted to pick up for a while. It's just one of those classic, is this considered YA? It's a romance fantasy classic. You know what I mean? Like, you just have those plot lines. I feel like if you're seeking one of those out, it's a pretty short book compared to what we have been seeing, I feel like, a lot in fantasy. And so if you're kind of one of those like quick fantasy romances, I would recommend giving this a shot. Next up was my October book club pick, and that was Fear the Flames by Olivia Rose Darling. I gave this book 3.5 stars. So I was so close to DNFing this, I have to admit. But by the time I finished part 1, which I think was about 80 or so pages in, I had a completely different mindset. I was starting to like look forward to the book. Up until that point, I just like didn't care. Like the plot line was interesting to me. I mean, it's about this long lost princess that has now been found and she wants freaking dragons back. She has a bond with 5 dragons and she was taken away from them and she just wants her dragons back. And so she kind of has been in hiding for a while and is now coming back. She is linking up with this broody, snarky commander, love, and he needs her for the war. She needs him to get her dragons back. So the premise of that, so cool. I think it was just like her first book, I'm pretty sure. Also just definitely the first book in the series, but I want to say this is like a debut for her. I'm not entirely sure. I want to say yes, because I think that's what has me just like so excited, because I see a lot of potential with her and just seeing how this series is going to progress. Like, I'm very excited to pick this back up. I just found myself like cringing in certain moments, like not really caring in others, but overall, like there's points that I cared a lot, that I felt a lot. So it was just like a whole roller coaster, but I am definitely excited for this series to continue, and I will be probably reading book 2 as soon as it comes out because this was fun. And I feel like the way this ended, I'm just curious how this entire like series is supposed to go. Oh my gosh. Next up is The Art of Catching Feelings. I give this book 4 stars. I read this book in one sitting. I was like, let me just start it tonight. It was probably like 8 p.m. or something. I don't know. I was like, let me just pick it up. Accidentally stayed up until 1 a.m. to finish it. Was anyone gonna tell me? Like, was anyone gonna tell me? This was so good. This was so good. I mean, I'm talking about it as if it's a 5-star, but like, not necessarily. So, it's a professional baseball player and his heckler prove that true love is worth going to bat for. Adorable. I think this is something that you do need to have a bit more knowledge heading into because the whole premise is that she doesn't really know much about baseball. She's at this game. She's drunk. She heckles this player, our main male character, and then she essentially feels bad about it and DMs him on Instagram, like apologizing, but forgets to tell him or like accidentally leaves out the part where she identifies herself as the heckler. So it's kind of this hidden identity trope. And so now they are having interactions in person and the whole like texting, DMing thing. So I would say that is something that like I just accepted going into it because I knew obviously at some point that's going to be like the blow up point. Like he's going to find out. And so if you just kind of accept that going into it, like this is a book you will love because the writing was so good. I really liked the audiobook. I did like a hybrid experience because you get like their text or messages and like the different like narration of that. I genuinely felt like I was just listening to a conversation and just like listening to people chit chat. It was so interesting. Like it was very, very, very bingeable and it was so obviously easy to just like fly through because the plot line, I felt like it was just at a good pace the entire time, not too long. I think it was like 320, 30 pages or something, 350, I don't know, something like that. So like, I don't know, I just felt it so easy to read and I just highly recommend. I'm gonna be honest though, I really, really, really love this. I don't know if I'm gonna pick up any other book by her right now because when I've looked at the other ones and a new one coming out, I just don't know if I would love it. But this book had me seeking out whether or not I should be in love with a baseball player. Wild experience for me. So there's that. This was so fun. If you have any interest in adult sport romances, give it a shot. Give it a shot. The last 2 books I read were audiobook only, and one of them I checked out from the library. One of them I got from Libro FM's ALC program. So the first one is Stalking Jack the Ripper. I think I gave this book 3.5 stars. So this is the first one in a series. It's by Carrie Maniscalco, which I loved Throne of the Fallen. That's the only book I read by her at this point. Well, okay, on top of Stalking Jack the Ripper, but I haven't read like Kingdom of the Wicked trilogy. I think I want to. I don't know. I might, but I definitely want to continue with the Stalking Jack the Ripper series. I was listening to it while working. I think obviously at times like that, it can take me out because I was just like not able to focus on every detail, but I will say, like, I just didn't really care about, like, the subplot of romance going on, but I think, like, the premise of her stalking Jack the Ripper, I love that take on the story. Like, I thought that was just so interesting. I just found myself, like, not caring as about the other parts, but, like, I was fascinated. I was entertained the whole time, and I definitely want to continue with the series, so I will keep you guys up to date as far as how the rest of that goes, but I just love Carrie Maniscalco, and this series was highly recommended to me once I raved about Throne of the Fallen, which Throne of Secrets just came out, like, 2 days ago. So excited. I have the audiobook, but I really want to get the physical copy to be able to read alongside. I don't think that's something I should just try to listen to. So yeah, that was Stalking Jack the Ripper. Then the last book is a nonfiction. It's called Cult Following by J.W. Ocker. This book, one thing about me, I'm a true crime loving girly. Cannot help myself. I am the most fascinated, though, with cults. I find the premise of them to be so fascinating. I think how the human mind works in association with them, the coolest. Not the coolest because they can be very harmful, but I'm just very fascinated by it. And it's something that just like gets my gears turning. I think the idea behind cults, my opinion, being the fact that human nature, we want to belong to something. We want to seek out that kind of validation, that purpose, that feeling of hope and like family, and we just belong. That's just human nature. And so cults give people that. And there's so many different variations. And so this book is just a bunch of like chapters, if you will, about different types of cults that have existed and kind of like how they started, what they were, and how it ended, if it ended. And it was just so interesting to kind of like have all these different stories in a nutshell. The audiobook was so amazing. That's something I listened to while working because it felt like I was just listening to a documentary in the background. If you like, you know, those types of documentaries, highly recommend this book. If you are all fascinated, I feel like, by the concept of this, they really dived into that pretty well here. And it was just such like a quick, easy book. It was so good. Like I just really enjoyed it. I think it's something that I could listen to over and over again because I was multitasking while listening to it, that I think like I could like gather more information on a re-listen. I was saying like reread, but just like feels weird. So that was the last book that I read this month. I am so excited for November specifically because I feel like I'm on this like reading kick right now, and I just look forward to reading more and more and more this month. And I feel like I'm on a good pace to like actually have the time and energy and capacity to read a lot more. I really haven't in the last 2 months. I didn't do any stats here. I usually do that, but I know I read 14 books, and for 2 months, that's definitely not normal for me. I was like 7, I think, each month. And so normally I read about like 10 to 12 maybe. So definitely read a lot less than I'm used to, but I had an amazing couple of months, like making memories with friends and family and all that. So I say like, oh, all that. So like there's reasons behind not reading, but I think once I got out of like the traveling and being so busy with like plans, I had a hard time just like picking up a book. So that's kind of where I'm at. But these are the books that I read in October. I'm going to go grab a few books that I know I want to read in November, but I have not really set a November TBR. Okay, I just had to change the battery because it died right as I came back in with all the books, but I grabbed a few that I hope to read in November, and then there are a couple like new releases that either just came out or are coming out that I will be mentioning as well. So the first one is Six of Crows. This is my Patreon's book club pick of the month. It's always linked down below. I do a spoiler-filled reading vlog. We also have Discord where we can talk about it. So if you want to join, it's down in the description. But I'm so excited to read this one. It's been on my TBR forever, and I don't know why I keep putting it off. So I'm so glad that you guys chose it because now I'm just going to be forced to read it, and I know it's just giving a 5-star feeling. Like, I just know it. So many people that I usually align with on like tastes gave this book 5 stars, so highly anticipated. We'll see how it goes. Then a couple that I already mentioned. I want to finish that Belladonna trilogy, so Wisteria is the final book. I hope to read this sooner than later. I have the audiobook. This is the library physical copy, so it'll have to be returned soon, so hopefully I get to this in the next week or so. Kind of along that line, this is the second book after A Dawn of Onyx, so this is the Sacred Stones trilogy. So it's A Promise of Paradat? Up for interpretation. So either way, I hope to finish this. Also a relatively short book, so I'm hoping that this story is just gonna like progress to an even better place than the first one. I heard this one's better than the first, so I'm nervous but excited. This one, high expectations. This is Phantasma. I am waiting for my Audible credit to come in, so I don't usually have Audible, but I got a like notification of like, come back because you can have 3 months of 99 cents per month before like going back to like the $15 or whatever. So usually when I get those emails, I hop on for 3 months and then cancel it again. I primarily use Libro FM, but this book I can only find on Audible, but it doesn't say Audible only. So I don't know what's going on. I was hoping it would be on Libro FM, but I'm waiting for my Audible credit to come in, I think beginning to mid-November, and then I'm diving into this one. And then my last physical copy I have is Heartless Hunter. I have it checked out from the library, but I also have the audiobook already. Like, I just own it. And so I'm excited to read this one. I'm excited to give it another chance because I did start it, but I DNF'd it like immediately because I was just like, I'm not in the mood for this. Like, whatever this is, I'm not like interested in the first couple chapters, and I just needed a book at that time that I was hooked immediately. But so many of my friends absolutely loved this book and like cannot wait for the new one coming out, so I'm giving it another shot. I'm nervous but hopeful. Okay, and then there are a few books that either just came out or are coming out in the next month that I want to read. I just don't know if it'll be in November. So I mentioned Throne of Secrets by Carrie Maniscalco. That book just came out a couple days ago. I want to read it so bad. I'm gonna be honest, I do not think it's gonna be the same like rating or higher rating than Throne of the Fallen, but I still think I'm gonna love it. Like, her writing is just so addictive, and I really love how she wrote Throne of the Fallen. So I'm excited. I just like don't know how much I'm gonna love this brother, because it's like the 7 sins is, I think it's the 7th, right? 7 sins. The brothers, the princes of sins and all that. And so each brother has a book, and wow. Like Envy in the first book. Whew. So I just don't know if I'm going to love the brother. We were introduced to him, and I just like, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But I do want to read that one in November. And then I'm really, really, really excited for The West Wind by Alexandria Warwick. This is the second book to The North Wind that just came out. So I believe it is a 4-book series following each brother, north, south, east, west. And so we're introduced to the West brother in The North Wind. So I'm curious how this is going to go, but I really enjoyed The North Wind. I read it as part of a readathon, so I read it in one sitting, and I think that enhanced my experience. So I'm interested to see how this one goes. It's coming out November 7th. And then November 12th, The Games Untold by Jennifer Lynn Barnes comes out. She's a top author for me. I love anything she writes. I think her brain is so magnificent to come up with all the like riddles and games and puzzles and all of that. So cool to me. So this is the book that's continuing on the Inheritance games. So she came out with The Grandest Game, which is in the same world, involving the same characters, but it's going to be this like new series, because I believe The Grandest Games, or Grandest Game, whatever it is like this annual game that's going to be happening from now on. So I think that's how it's going to progress, is like each game gets a new book. I'm not sure. And then also coming out on the 12th is The Courting of Bristol Keats by Mary E. Pearson. She wrote The Dance of Thieves, Val of Thieves duology. I'm going to be honest, I really want to read this book, but I haven't seen the best reviews yet, so I'm a little nervous. So I don't know if it's something I'm going to prioritize in November or just like hold out, read it eventually kind of thing. But those are some books that are coming out in November. And then we have Throne of Secrets that already came out that I'm highly, highly, highly interested in. So that's my mini TBR at this point. I say mini TBRs and like I just don't know what I'm going to get to. And it's not really a structured thing. These are just books that are on my like immediate radar. But as we know, I'm a mood reader. We never know what I'm going to read. Oh, how did I not go grab it? Not Another Love Song. That is going to be prioritized. I have the audiobook checked out from Libby for the next 8 to 9 days, and I have a physical copy out in my living room, and I want to read it. I'm actually thinking about starting it today. That's like kind of a goal I have. We'll see. But that is like a romance that I'm interested in reading right now. Otherwise, you can tell, very fantasy focused. In my fantasy mood right now. So, okay. This was fun. I missed filming the wrap-up video. Like, I missed it, and I feel like this was a good one today. I feel like we got a lot done. I feel accomplished. I feel like I can maintain where I'm at now. I'm just kind of just excited for the rest of the year, if I'm honest. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one.